So I'm going to have a follow-up question on this.
Sure.
Should you be the camp member, would you go into that as well?
No, I would run away and hide.
Hi, once again, thank you for joining us for the next episode of Around the Couch. Today, in this episode, we'll be talking about the birth of Gospel Camp in YM. And we are having Jasmine, who will be able to share with us about the birth of Gospel Camp in YM. Hi, Jess.
Hi.
Just a question. What is your favorite game in the Gospel Camp?
I knew you would ask me that. I'm prepared. I think one of the most memorable one was definitely the ice dunking thing outside in the cold when we played the night games. Yeah, watching everybody get down, that was great.
So I'm going to have a follow-up question on this.
Sure.
Should you be the camp member, would you go into that as well?
No, I would run away and hide.
All right, and we really want to hear from you. The gospel camp. When it first birthed in YM, when this whole idea came about, really want to understand from you. What was the heart behind it? What was the purpose behind this whole gospel camp?
I think the first one happened, I think, around 2015, the end of 2015, and it started off with a vision that was casted to us, I think, to run an evangelistic camp. And the heart behind it was really, I think, in the same year was a word that YM received from God, which was YM is blessed to be a blessing, and that we are called, to be a part of what God is doing as He's doing a new thing. I think specifically was making a way in the wilderness and calling His children home. And I think there was something that really was the heart behind why we started doing the gospel camp.
Yeah, and I understand that the first theme of the gospel camp was Unbound, right? The set free in a sense. And how did YM as a ministry respond to this heart of God for gospel camp?
I suppose it was pretty significant. I mean, now that we think about it, the name Unbound. I think definitely as a ministry, it was very challenging, very difficult, very, very uncomfortable. We all were pushed out of our comfort zones because, we had to go all out to invite our friends. We had to motivate and encourage our members, to not give up, even if they were getting rejected, right? Just to keep going, to keep trying. But I think what it turned out to be for us, right? We talk about set free, it was also a moment of being set free in that sense for us, where I think God began to touch our hearts, began to touch the hearts of our members, and everyone began to slowly catch God's heart for the lost, for their friends who were not saved. And it was really amazing. I think people, members, leaders began to be so hungry to see their new friends come to know God, come to be saved, and everyone just started moving together. Yeah. So that was what it was, I think, for YM, as the whole experience for YM.
And it seems like such a monumental task, because it took such a transformation for all of us. I think most of us here were a part of this gospel camp when it first birthed in YM. And, being one of the main people in leading for this camp, in pulling this camp along, how did it felt for you?
It was definitely a big challenge, but I think not just for me, the whole team that was planning it, everybody that was involved. But I think there were definitely two things that kept us going, two things that really helped us not to give up when things got really, really challenging. I think one of it was that we kept holding on to the belief, just kept believing in God that He will come through for us. I think because there were so many new things that we were doing, right, and so many things that we were trying out, we faced a lot of obstacles, right, but we just kept holding on and kept believing that God would come through for us. And I think the second thing that really, really kept us pushing ourselves to the limits and not giving up was that we really wanted to create the best experience possible for our new friends. So whether it be through the, just welcoming them when they registered, their experience in the games, their first encounter perhaps, in a worship session, hearing God's word for the first time. We kept brainstorming and coming up with as many creative ideas as we could as to how we would be able to make them feel welcome and, that they would come to a place where they will be open to hear, about God and ultimately give their lives to God. Yeah.
And I really want to appreciate, the not just you and also the entire camp committee and the camps, past camp committees as well. Even as we can appreciate the amount of challenges that they have to come and face with, and yet every time, they step out in obedience, because this is what God has put in their heart to really make it the best encounter, a best place for them to encounter God. And in stepping out in obedience, we just want to hear from you, in your personal take. What was this outcome that YM received even as they stepped out in obedience, moving in this direction?
Yeah, I think there were so many great things. I think at the end of the day, when we look back, all the blood, sweat, and tears, was worth it. But why it was worth it, I think we began to see, great friendships. So many friendships were built. I think we made so many new friends, friendships that last even until today. I think on top of having so much fun and, just the energy was high all the time and everything. I think the greatest highlights for us was, I think, really seeing God touch not only the new friends, but I think also ourselves as leaders, as members. That somehow it was as though something was awakened in our hearts as a ministry. And I think the greatest thing that got us all so excited at the end of the day, I think, was the fact that 75 of our new friends came to know God at that camp. And I think that was something that is forever, in our minds, and something that keeps us going forward, keeps us, going in this work of reaching out, to students, reaching out to high school students, to campus students, just to all the people around us, wherever we go. Yeah.
And I'm sure we are all, missing camp as well, in such a situation that we are in now. And we really miss, the friendships, the relationships that are being built. But I think what we do not want to miss out, from this is really the heart of God that He has for us in Gospel Camp, which is to continue to make friends, make new friends, and continue to reach out to them, build friendships with them. And at the end of the day, that we can share God together with them. So thank you very much, Jess, for sharing this. Jess is one of our lay zone pastors as well, and she has been one of the first person who was there when we first birthed the Gospel Camp in YM. And so that's all for today in our episode of Around the Couch. Thank you, and stay tuned for the next one.